The day my fiancée toasted to our forever with my stolen company secrets on her lips, I knew exactly how I would destroy her. Not with rage, not with screams, with precision. The kind of cold, elegant precision that turns a person's entire life into a mirror, reflecting only their worst choices back at them until they can't look away. Elena Voss had always been the kind of beautiful that made people forgive her for existing in the same room as them. Tall, dark-haired, with hazel eyes that shifted color depending on what she wanted from you. When we met 3 years ago at a Take conference in Singapore, she was a rising consultant for ethical AI governance. I was the founder of Nexus Veil, the company building the world's most private encrypted communication platform. Our first conversation lasted 4 hours. By the end of the night, she knew my biggest insecurity, my estranged father's gambling debts, and I knew the exact scar on her left collarbone from a childhood sailing accident. I proposed on a rooftop in Santorini during a blood-red sunset. She cried, real tears. I still have the video. 6 months later, I found the first breadcrumb. It was 2:17 a.m. in our glass-walled apartment overlooking the Hudson. Elena was asleep, her laptop open on the kitchen island. The screen had gone to sleep, but the fan was still spinning. I was grabbing water after another brutal product sprint when I brushed the trackpad. One decrypted folder, one innocuous name, Project Elysium notes. Inside were hundreds of my internal memos, prototype schematics for Veil's quantum-resistant encryption layer, and, most damning, direct messages between Elena and Marcus Kane, my former CTO, who I'd fired 8 months earlier for creative differences. The messages weren't romantic, they were transactional. Elena, he still trusts me completely. Another 2 weeks, and I'll have the full zero-knowledge proof architecture. Marcus, good. Helix Dynamics is offering 8 figures plus equity if we deliver before their IPO. Elena, make it 9. I'm not fucking him for chump change. I stood there in the dark, reading for 43 minutes. My heart didn't race. It slowed. The way a predator's does when it finally spots the perfect angle of attack. I closed the laptop, kissed her bare shoulder as she slept, and whispered, "Sweet dreams, my love." The next morning, I acted like nothing happened. I made her favorite matcha latte with oat milk. I laughed at her joke about my bedhead. I told her I loved her more than algorithms love daddy. Inside, I began building the machine. Step 1, mirrors. I cloned her entire digital life with surgical care. Every password I'd ever watched her type, every cloud account she left logged in, every biometric backup on our shared devices. I hired 2 ex-Israeli intelligence freelancers through 7 layers of proxies. They never met me in person. They called me architect. Within 10 days, I had everything. Her hidden signal chats, her offshore account in the Caymans, her search history from the last 14 months, including the night she Googled how to hide hickeys from Fiancée, exactly 9 days after I'd been in Tokyo. She was sleeping with Marcus regularly, enthusiastically, sometimes in our bed when I was traveling, but that wasn't what made me decide on total annihilation. It was the video. In it, Elena sat across from Marcus in a dimly lit hotel bar, wearing the silver dress I'd bought her for our anniversary. She raised her glass and said, clear as crystal, "He's brilliant, but he's soft. Men like Alex think love is a variable they can optimize. I'm going to take everything he built and leave him with nothing but a therapy bill. Then I'll marry you, and we'll run the kingdom he created." Marcus laughed. "You're evil." "No," Elena said, smiling the same smile she gave me every morning. "I'm just honest." I watched that clip exactly 147 times. By the end, I wasn't even angry anymore. I was inspired. Revenge, done right, should feel like destiny wearing your face. I spent the next 4 months becoming the perfect version of the man she thought she was fooling. I moved up the wedding date. "I can't wait another 6 months to call you my wife," I told her, eyes shining with manufactured devotion. She agreed, thrilled. The bigger the stage, the sweeter the fall. I quietly transferred 40% of my vested shares into a blind trust she didn't know existed. I updated the company bylaws to include a moral turpitude clause that would trigger on any felony level fraud. I seeded false but plausible prototypes into the documents she was still stealing. Beautifully crafted traps designed to send Helix Dynamics down a 12-month technical dead end that would cost them millions. But those were just warm-ups. The real plan had 3 acts. 2 weeks before the wedding, I accidentally left my tablet open on the dining table while I took a fake emergency call from the office. On the screen, a staged but convincing email chain suggesting I was having an affair with my new head of security, a striking ex-Marine named Jordan Vale. Jordan was actually happily married and helping me orchestrate this for a very generous bonus. Elena read it. I watched the security footage later. Her face went through a fascinating sequence: surprise, calculation, then something almost like relief. She thought this justified everything she was doing. That night, she was extra affectionate. Guilty people often are. The bachelor party was in Tulum. Marcus was, of course, not invited. Elena threw me a joint party anyway because she loved control. I made sure the venue had excellent lighting and multiple 8K cameras. During the rehearsal dinner the night before the wedding, I gave a speech. I thanked Elena for teaching me what real partnership looked like. I looked directly into her eyes and said, "You've shown me that sometimes the person you love most is the one who forces you to become who you were always meant to be." The audience awed. Elena squeezed my hand, eyes glistening. Then the projector I'd arranged as a surprise slideshow of our memories began. It started innocently enough. Photos of us in Santorini, us laughing in Kyoto, us on a private yacht in Croatia. Then the images changed. Elena and Marcus in the hotel in Miami. Elena wiring money from the Cayman's account. Elena's own typed words. Enlarged across the screen, "I'm not fucking him for chump change." The room went dead silent. Elena's face drained of color. She tried to laugh it off at first, someone's idea of a sick joke. But the next video started playing, the one from the hotel bar. Her voice, crystal clear, talking about leaving me with nothing but a therapy bill. People started whispering. Phones came out. Someone gasped audibly. I stood there calmly, hands in my pockets, watching her realize the stage she'd wanted so badly had just become her execution platform. Security escorted Marcus out when he tried to lunge at me. Elena looked at me, eyes wide with something I'd never seen in her before, genuine fear. "Alex," she whispered, "please." I leaned in close, like a lover, and said softly enough that only she could hear, "You wanted the kingdom, Elena? I'm just making sure you get exactly what you deserve." The wedding was called off, obviously, but that was only the beginning. Within 48 hours, the story was everywhere. Tech power couple implodes in public scandal. Helix Dynamics stock cratered when my planted false prototypes were discovered during their due diligence. Marcus was fired and blacklisted after I released evidence of his corporate espionage. Elena tried to spin it. She gave interviews claiming I was controlling, that I'd fabricated everything. She even tried to leak a deep fake of me admitting to abuse. She didn't know I'd already seeded the internet with a counter-narrative so sophisticated it had its own AI monitoring system. Every lie she told was met with time-stamped, geolocated, cryptographically signed evidence. I turned her own tactics against her with surgical beauty. 6 weeks after the rehearsal dinner, Elena's reputation was radioactive. No company would touch her. Her speaking gigs dried up. Friends ghosted her. Even her mother called me in tears, asking what her daughter had done. I sent Elena one single message during this time: check your email. Attached was a non-disclosure agreement and a settlement offer. $1 million in exchange for never speaking my name publicly again and signing over any claim to Nexus Veil. She called me immediately, voice shaking with rage and desperation. You think this makes you better than me? You're a monster! I laughed softly. No, Elena, I'm what happens when a monster meets someone who underestimates them, she signed. 8 months later, I was in Tokyo for a product launch. Nexus Veil had just gone public at a $4.2 billion valuation. I was on stage in a simple black suit, no tie, accepting applause from hundreds of people. Afterward, a woman approached me at the after party. Short black hair, sharp cheekbones, quiet confidence. Her name was Lena. She was a cybersecurity ethicist working for a nonprofit. We talked for 4 hours. She made me laugh, really laugh, for the first time in over a year. When she asked about my past, I told her the truth. Not the tabloid version, the real one. She listened without pity or judgment. Then she said something that stopped me cold. Sounds like you won, but did you win the right way? I thought about it for a long moment. I won the only way that mattered, I said finally. I became the kind of man who can't be betrayed twice. Lena studied me. Maybe, or maybe you became the kind of man who doesn't need to be loved anymore? We didn't sleep together that night, or the next. But 3 months later, she moved into the Hudson apartment after I had every trace of Elena professionally exorcised. Sometimes, late at night, I still watch the old videos, not out of longing, not out of regret. I watch them to remember how close I came to losing everything to someone who thought love was just another vector for extraction. Elena, last I heard, was living in a small town in Portugal under a different name. She teaches English to children now. No social media, no public profile. A ghost of the woman who once tried to own me. I hope she's happy. I really do. Because every time I look at Lena sleeping beside me, trusting me completely, I feel something I never felt with Elena. Peace. And the quiet, unshakable knowledge that if anyone ever tries to take this life from me again, I won't need 4 months to prepare. I'll only need 4 minutes.